Welcome back to another Album Book Club interview. This week we have our guest Rat Bath, which we reviewed last year and had a real fun time with the album, and we have him here today. All right, let's start things off with just a question of why the name Rat Bath?
No one really knows how we came up with the name Rat Bath. There's been many rumors. Some people think that we just want to groom rats together in a salon. Other people think that, it was about a pet rat of ours that needed a bath. There's one really nasty rumor out there that we all gather under the full moon and bathe in a pool of rats to absorb their powers. But just because we're in a cult doesn't mean that's true.
Hey, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Oh, yeah.
What's the story of the album?
Okay, yeah. Girl finds brother dead. Girl avenges brother's death. Girl starts stalking a vampire. Witnesses that vampire turn another girl into a vampire. Girl falls in love. Girl loves girl. Vampire girl starts eating men. Time traveler girl is like, this is weird, and nopes out of the relationship. Vampire girl, in her heartbreak, started to feel her own humanity again. And 30 years later, when girl comes back to vampire girl is like, no. And walks into the sun and offs herself. And then girl travels back in time to trap herself in an infinite time loop in order to save the vampire from ever turning into a vampire. It's a very quintessential.
It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah,
right?
It's like yeah, classic love story.
Like West Side Story or whatever.
Yeah, or Boy Meets Girl or World or whatever the show.
World, yeah.
So, taking the line of questioning to a more conceptual nature, how did the story of this album come about?
It's something that Fred and I have been kicking around for a few years at least. I don't remember who had the original idea of a vampire time traveler romance. That was kind of the first. I think it was Fred. Yeah, it was Fred's idea. It's the idea of a time traveler who's traveling to all these different points in the timeline, and everywhere she goes, there's this vampire who never gets old, and so they form a relationship across a century. And then we kind of filled in the details.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how this came about, but the character Susanna the vampire was an alter ego of mine when I was younger and going through my adult vampire phase. And we kind of just decided she would be in love with the time traveler, and then we decided that Cora would write all the songs from the perspective of the time traveler. That's part of it that a lot of people don't know. I wrote all the songs from the perspective of Susanna, and Cora wrote all the songs from the perspective of Cadence. And so through that, Cadence kind of became an image of Cora, made in Cora's likeness.
Yeah, definitely nice to get that perspective. I think it brings a whole new definition to the album, honestly.
What inspirations did you guys have for the style of this album?
Yeah, well, talking about the influences we all took, I think this was our way of taking the fact that we're 5 individuals with very, very different sensibilities about what music we like, with a shared enthusiasm for just a good song, and just putting all those influences together and not being afraid of not all writing within the same genre, and not being as worried about where are we meshing, are these genres not gonna mesh. We'd try it, and if it meshed, and we weren't worried about whether it worked on paper, just whether it worked on audio.
Yeah.
If we dug it while we were trying it out live.
Yeah. It did spark many of arguments in our TikTok posts in the comment section. There are a lot of experts out there that really want to tell me about my music. So I've learned that this year. That was very insightful.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend with any like up and coming artist on TikTok. Because I get a lot of that on my For You page personally, and it's just people in the comments who are like, "Oh, I know more about this than you do. Like you didn't write the music. Get out of here."
I do, but like, talk to me when you write a murder country rock opera. I don't know, like.
So I know in the live we kind of called it cowboy punk and had a little bit of fun with it, but the alternative, how did that come about?
I actually don't like country or emo. Even a little bit. After being in this band though, I have a grown appreciation for country music. I still hold the same stance on it.
You just like okay. We'll talk about this in the video. So basically, we got in an argument. Me and Cora got in an argument with somebody else over whether or not the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance is a country album. It is. Don't argue with me. And that argument sprung into us forming a band to prove that person wrong. And it was like all a bet. And we won the bet, but it's been like 4 years later.
Did you message them that you won?
No.
They just know.
They didn't know. I don't need to tell nobody that I won. People know when I won.
But yeah, I think that like it's one of those things where like we all, most of us admit that we like emo, we like punk, we like country music. And so like it wasn't hard to mesh them together, especially like when we were willing to just stand on like, okay, this is an emo riff, this is a country riff, let's put them together. And then like,
oh, they'll make a baby.
Yeah, and yeah, I think the label of the alternative, we tried a couple things. We tried a couple different ways to categorize it, and the alternative, despite maybe not having like a specific genre, it conjured the vibe of what we were going for really well. And so like, once we that name sort of tied it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did appreciate there was a local publication that wrote about the album coming out, and someone said band co-founders Fred Kenyon and Cora Beckwith have doing the alternative thing since before it was trending on TikTok. And I was like, damn right, we invented it.
Honestly, I love just doing it out of spite. That is so amazing.
Yeah.
So you guys touched a little bit on production in an Instagram DM. So we were just kind of curious as to what kind of issues you had in production during the course of creating this album.
So we rented a space from some people that my mother knows in Iowa. And although they had like it was like a maker space, they had other rooms that would have worked really well for recording. They set us up in like this open concept room that like people were walking through. And like it was fine tracking the instruments, but it was also like a shared space with a wood shop. And on like day 4 was the day to record my vocals, and I went to record it, and I like literally couldn't breathe, couldn't sing. So we had to relocate to a friend's basement, a friend of a friend's basement, and record from there. But my voice was still like pretty harsh, pretty rough, and like we didn't have enough time set aside to record it to like come back and do it. Like we had to just get it done. So 6 of the songs on the album have their original takes on them, where my voice is very, very like raspier than normal. I do have a natural rasp to my voice, but it was like choking rasp. And then 4 of them I redid in my living room and sent back to the producer. But the reason why that came up is somebody had the critique that the vocals were too muddy. And I was like, listen, that had nothing to do with the production and everything to do with me typing.
Yeah, it really sucks that you guys face production problems, but it's nice to know that you have a finished good product out there.
Yeah.
100%.
So, since we enjoyed this album so much, is there any chance that there's any other projects to look forward to? Maybe an album 3?
There will be a third album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a concept and an idea. But before there's a third album, and we have not announced this yet, but since y'all are so nice, we'll tell you that you can expect an EP in hopefully 2024, if not early 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can say about the EP, but it will be special.
Yeah. So with our first two albums, because of thanks to the pandemic, there was a lot of time to marinate on the songs and the sounds and the stories. And we're 5 highly motivated musicians who really like working on stuff, and so we're gonna give ourselves a little extra time so that the stuff we're working on, the ideas we have, can marinate without meeting a global pandemic.
So everyone has a different kind of writing process. Can you take us a little through yours, or give us any insight on how that works for you?
Mainly, we have a bunch of, we take a bunch of different approaches, but primarily, usually when we're ready to work on some new music, Cora and I will kind of just schedule some time to sit down and just riff off each other, so we have a general idea of a song, and then we bring that to the rest of the band at practice and kind of go from there. We have a couple songs where we started with a beat and went from there, or started with a riff and I wrote lyrics over it. So it kind of just depends on what the vibe is. But I think primarily we come up with chords and lyrics and then build on
everything else around it. Yeah.
How did you guys feel about getting an outside perspective with our review?
I was having a great time watching y'all and joking in the comments. Somebody called it the album's album, and I really appreciated that, because it is absolutely an album's album. It is meant to be played beginning to end. You can listen to a single song off it if you like, but you're not supposed to.
Doing yourself
Clear 31 minutes out of your day to listen to
the
so whoever said that, I really appreciated that. I know that somebody said that they didn't like the country sound, but then changed their mind after they realized it was meant to start country and end rock. But yeah, I think I appreciated hearing how much you like the mixing on Calling All Monsters. I agree, that is the best mixed song.
Yeah, I think that one came out really, really well.
There were some of y'all's favorites. I was surprised. I was like, oh, you like that song? Nice. That's cool. I'm glad you like that one.
Appreciated that y'all wanted to sit down with all of us and talk to all of us about what we brought to the album, because I think a lot of people justifiably so are it's the story first, and music is an important part of the story.
What a lot of interviewers do is they just want to talk to the singer, and I don't know why, other than the singer's usually the most charismatic one. I try to at least bring one other bandmate with me. I try to negotiate 2 people in the interview. I don't like doing them alone.
So, I mean, after listening to your guys' studio album, we were just honestly wondering if you guys had any plans to go on tour, or what that's looking like for you guys, what kind of live shows you're playing.
We're announcing our tour date for, we have a February tour. And we are announcing it January 1st. Okay. It will be the longest tour that we as a band have been on together.
That's awesome.
So we'll let you know how we feel about each other when we get back. So far it's been so good.
So it's the international tour.
Yes. Last time I said international, people thought I meant Europe, so we're going to Canada.
Hey, you don't have to tell people. You can just say international tour.
Worldwide.
There we go.
Worldwide.
All right. Since we went and rated you out of 10, what would you rate this interview out of 10?
I'm gonna give your review of us a 9.5 out of 10. I had to dock something for not doing the research to learn that it was a concept album. But other than that, y'all were very nice, very kind, very funny, and I normally don't like podcasts, but I had a really good time watching that and being able to interact with y'all. So 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, we appreciate it. There's still a little bit of time left. Is there anything you guys want to plug? Any merch, new songs, anything?
Just that we'll be on tour in February. Follow us on Instagram at rat.bath.mke. That's where we announce all our shows. You can follow us on other socials, but like, you're not going to get anything. You can follow us on TikTok if you want to see me be really unhinged on the internet every day. Yeah, keep an eye out for Ohio shows. We have a couple shows in Ohio coming up. So
huge thank you to Rat Bath for joining us today and letting us get this exclusive interview with them. We look forward to talking more with them and seeing what they bring forth for us. Thank you.